When the draw was made for Paris Saint-Germain against Manchester United in the Champions League all the way back in December or whenever it was, it didn't look like it was going to be one of those games that would really whet the appetite. You kind of thought that we kind of know exactly what's going to happen. This is going to be one-way traffic. There'll be a scratchy goal, there'll be a good second, and it'll be 2-0, and maybe it'll be a draw in the second leg, or maybe, just maybe, they'll kill them. Now, all of a sudden, on the show last night, Pat Nevin said, with a straight face, that he makes Manchester United the favourites for the Paris Saint-Germain tie. Things change in 2 months, and all of a sudden, the whole world is interested, Owen.
Yeah, it's straight faces everywhere this morning, predicting Manchester United to have one hell of a chance of beating Paris Saint-Germain. They're going to beat them. They are going to progress. There are some headlines in Duran saying that the absence of Neymar and Edison Cavani may have an impact on Paris Saint-Germain. I don't care how good you are or how much money you've got to spend. You are going to be impacted by the absence of Edison Cavani and Neymar, who are both out tonight. Manchester United have the upper hand here. It's not like PSG have been playing in any great flair or form since the turn of the calendar year either. They've struggled in a couple of matches domestically. And I think, do they kind of forget how to get themselves back up to the high octane of top-level football again?
It's hard to be a big-time Charlie all the time.
Exactly. I think they've kind of got themselves to a point where they know they can be leisurely about most of their business for most of the year, and then they just turn it on whenever they need to. But sometimes turning it on when you need to is actually quite a difficult thing to do.
Yeah. Who's going to go through, though? That's the question. You're saying Manchester United are going to go through over the 2 legs?
I think so. Well, Neymar is not going to be back for the second leg, is he?
But is Neymar all that important when you've got Kylian Mbappe in the team?
Yeah.
Come on.
Well,
Kylian Mbappe.
So that's the whole point of having a super team or having a sensational front three.
Exactly. If one of them goes down, you still got another amazing player like Kylian Mbappe, best player in the world.
Or if you've got a limited amount of resources on the pitch, which every football team does, then you can't actually spread your resources too thinly, or you can't spread them too thickly, I should say, in terms of focusing in on attacking targets. Of course it's going to make a difference. We spoke about the theory that perhaps PSG are better without Neymar. That theory will be tested over the next couple of weeks because they're coming up against one of the most informed sides in Europe. I'm reading this morning that Manchester United players are overperforming over the last couple of weeks. I don't believe that to be the case. I believe that their attacking assets have just found their actual level.
Their defence has played relatively well in recent weeks, and
okay, so defensively maybe
that is overperforming because they don't have no great players there.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. Defensively they are overperforming, but in attack there's no overperformance there. Like when people are comparing Mbappe against Marcus Rashford as two of the hottest young talents in European football tonight, that's not really hyperbole, that's quite accurate.
Yeah, I mean, right. Yes.
Like there's no suggestion that Marcus Rashford, for me, is overperforming at the moment.
No, but there's not also, he's nowhere near Kylian Mbappe really, yet. I mean, Kylian Mbappe's a World Cup winner.
Yes.
Marcus Rashford is good and could be great, but that's where he is at the moment. Like, it could also, it's unlikely, but it could also end up a little bit Federico Macheda. I mean, probably won't because he's much further down the line, but we've seen players play well for a short period of time at the start of their career. He looks much better than that, in fairness, before that gets blown up and it's like, whoa. He's not really Macheda because Macheda obviously never made it, but we have seen players come through and fade away a little bit, or something gets to them. But
you see, he's had that already, hasn't he?
Proper second contract. Well, he survived Mourinho, which is like amazing. Look, I don't want to, by comparing him to Mbappe, I think you're doing him a disservice because Kylian Mbappe is like top 3 in the world type player. I don't think Rashford's that type player, is he? Marcus Rashford's going to be a good Premier League player, but not like a world-class player, is he?
It's true. Like, especially when you look at Mbappe, who was deserving of all the praise he got last year in terms of all the individual accolades he picked up last year, and Marcus Rashford can never be put into that situation. Namely, specifically because of what happened with his club, specifically what happened in the World Cup. He just didn't have as good a World Cup as Kylian Mbappe, simple as that. But when you look at the actual talents available to either man, of course, Mbappe as an athlete is probably a good bit better than Marcus Rashford. As a lethal finisher, as somebody who can actually rack up statistics that often gauge these year-long awards, can Marcus Rashford get to that level? I think the potential 100% is there.
Well, so he's only 21. I mean, if you were to...
Mbappe's only 20.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of where Rashford can go, what his ceiling is. Like, is his ceiling an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer type career where, you become an important part of a successful team as opposed to the main man? Or is he going to have like an Andy Cole style period of his career where he is the main man who scores loads and loads of goals, or a Van Nistelrooy season where his goals carry the team to a title, or a Van Persie season where the same thing happens. I mean, he's kind of in between, I would say.
That's stylistically.
No, irrespective stylistically, but his ability to kind of contribute to the team and be a dominant player in the team in terms of outcome, right?
Okay.
I would say he's kind of in between Solskjaer and Van Persie, Van Nistelrooy. Which is an amazing career, but it ain't Kylian Mbappe, who's like a step ahead of all those.
I can see your concern, for sure, and I can see how you can easily make that comparison. But I do think that there is an element of style about that. The only thing that can stop Marcus Rashford going on to have a Van Persie or a Van Nistelrooy type season in the next 2 or 3 years is a change in style to whatever it may be, his position or the way he's asked to deploy himself in Manchester United's attack. At the moment, I think it's pretty clear that Marcus Rashford has been a revelation as a number 9 for Manchester United, although revelation is probably putting it a little bit strongly because we all knew the attacking prowess he had. As a number 9, Marcus Rashford is world class, potentially, no?
I mean, like, world class means he's in the best team in the world.
It's a good point. So, like, if you're talking about the best team in the world right now, and you can't put Ronaldo, Messi or Mbappe into that number 9 role centrally, that they have to play either side of that. Like, if you're just going to play Ronaldo, Messi and Mbappe as your front three, then of course Marcus Rashford is not world class if we're going to use those very stringent...
Can Salah play there?
If you're going to use those... Like,
Salah plays there sometimes.
He does, but does Salah beat Mbappe on that right of a 3 at the moment?
No.
So that's the thing. So you're pushing one into the inside.
Yeah, I mean, come on. I'm definitely not putting Rashford in that conversation at all.
No, I wouldn't either. But I am also talking about potentially world class here.
Okay.
I am talking about the fact that as a number 9, this guy can be a goal scorer that can lead a Premier League title challenge.
Okay, fair enough. So you rate him very, very, very highly.
Very, 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 very highly.
The same team as Kylian Mbappe on
potentially,
merit.
yes.
Okay, no, I think that's a bit. I think we're a bit early for that, I gotta say. But anyway, that's a conversation we have a little bit later on. We've got some really good football guests coming your way at around about 8:15 this morning. We're going to get the thoughts of Philippe, and we're also going to talk with Daniel Harris. That's coming up at 8:15. Going to hear from Ian Rush and Jason McAteer. Liverpool and the FAI have got together, and it took a little bit of a while for them to get a Sean Cox fundraiser going, but eventually they got there.
Yeah.
And not the FAI, by the way, but Liverpool, I think. I think the FAI have done really well to get involved as quickly as they have done.
Yeah, for sure. It's on April 12th, and it was launched yesterday, so we've got a piece with Ian Rush and Jason McAteer coming up a little bit later on.
One of the other conversations that we want to have this morning, a bit about rugby, obviously. We're going to hear from Travis Tiger at the second part of our interview about Floyd Landis and Lance Armstrong. We're bringing the sports news with Darren around about 8:45. One of the other conversations we'll have this morning is about Sean O'Brien. We'll get to that in a minute, but I want to play you this clip because it is Brian O'Driscoll on last night's show talking about Joey Carbery's evolution, and he's got an interesting comparison, one that we've been talking about in the show here for a while. Have a look.
It's twice now this season, after the Castor game away from Munster when he had not a great game, he rebounded brilliantly, and then he had to regather himself a whole lot more quickly on Saturday. I would think his head was spinning and his stomach was churning, and he felt horrific for those 60 seconds after that intercept pass.
Yeah, I think it wasn't even that. Only his first pass was quite nervy. You know, he's a very good passer of the ball. The very first one he threw was a little bit low. I think Farrell caught it. It was fine.
Okay.
But just it looked as though it was a little bit tentative. A guy that was nervous, and it's understandably still a young man, and it's a big situation to find himself thrown in. Also, you're replacing the World Player of the Year. You know, there's added pressure that comes with that. Yes, he's been very good for Munster, but now there's constant question marks. Is he the one to challenge Johnny in advance of the World Cup? And this is for him is his opportunity. So of course there's going to be excitement and nerves and everything that comes with that. So the first one was a bit edgy and brilliantly read the intercept pass, but the way he bounced back from that, and I think it was a multitude of different parts to his game. It was obviously, besides the line break in the pass to Earls was fantastic, and he has this ability like no other 10 to get himself out of trouble or use his feet to just create something where he's running down a dark alley and all of a sudden it's turning what could be a miserable situation into a brilliant attacking opportunity, and very few 10s have the scope of doing that because of his acceleration, because of his footwork. I don't even think, I was talking to Johnny Wilkinson about this yesterday, I don't even know if Bowden Barrett he doesn't have that footwork. He's got that crazy acceleration, but he doesn't have that back three footwork where you know, Shane Williams, you're backed into a corner, and through multiple steps, you're able to get yourself out of trouble in a phone box. Whereas he has that, and I think there's a looseness to his game, but that brings such a great excitement. He's quite a different player to Johnny. Johnny's a bit more strategic and a bit more formulaic, and particularly the older he gets, and he's just lost a yard of pace as well. Whereas Joey comes in and he's almost the antithesis of that. He just comes in and he's sparked to life, and maybe doesn't run the pattern system as well as Johnny does right now, but he brings something totally different and something equally as exciting.
And is there any possibility to get the two of them in the same team? It'd be nice to see that, wouldn't it? One of them playing full-back. Well, obviously, only one of them will play full-back, and only one of them will play in the centre, perhaps. But, like, it's not going to happen now, is it?
No, but it is an interesting
France game. You could experiment for the France game now. France are rubbish. We can put out a B team against France and beat them.
For sure. I think the way the fixtures have worked out for Ireland in this year's Six Nations, it's the worst possible situation. We've got Italy in the middle of 2 off weeks. We wanted our toughest game really coming up next, to have like a week rest going into it and a week rest coming out of it. But yeah, France is probably now the best opportunity to experiment in quite a strange way, because you don't want people to go rusty either with these next 3 weeks, and the only game we have is Italy. But just on what Brian O'Driscoll is saying there, I'd love to know Joe Schmidt's thoughts on that. So you've got, if you're ranking your out halves at the moment, it's clearly number 1 Johnny Sexton, number 2 Joey Carbery. But as he says there, Carbery brings something completely different off the bench. I do wonder, could that possibly go against Joey Carbery? That if a game plan is going really well and Johnny Sexton gets a knock, do you want your out half to come in and just be Johnny Sexton? Or
do you think there's a chance somebody supplants Carbery as number 2? No chance.
No, that's not what I'm suggesting at all. I'm suggesting that, do you want your replacement for Johnny Sexton to be more like Johnny Sexton than Joey Carbery is?
Yeah, so you're saying...
Are they too different?
As in, so Carbery's talent is going against him as number 2?
As a backup out half, that it would actually support the idea of him at full back.
Oh. I don't really understand. What are you making? Or
maybe I am suggesting that he shouldn't be number 2 out half. Like the point he's making there is their talents are quite different.
And so who would be the number 2?
Well, I don't know. That is the question, isn't it? It's like...
Carbery's our second best out half.
And like, he is 100%. But it's like, does it go against him that his talents are very different to Johnny Sexton?
Yeah, I mean, you wonder if in any other country he'd be in the first 15 somewhere. That like you'd be finding a way for him to be in the first 15. Whatever the formation is, however you need to manage, whatever it is that you need to manage, this guy is definitely potentially world class, and you want him in the team. And you know, who knows, by the end of the year we could all be saying he is world class now. Let's take you through the newspapers this morning. Solskjaer and United looking to rekindle great European nights. That's Ollie's cold assassin eyes. He's such a happy manager, isn't he? He's kind of the perfect Manchester United manager at the moment, in a weird way. You can write whatever you want onto him, because he's been so low profile, really, apart from that time at Cardiff. And nobody paid any attention to that time at Cardiff, because it was Cardiff and they were gone straight back down, so no one cared. So whatever happens now, this is the birth of his character, in many respects, as an adult. Again, because, you know, he was the babyface assassin, and then he disappears and he goes off to Norway, or he's in the background at Manchester United. So he can be whatever he wants.
Well, we're forgetting the elephant in the room here, and that is that Neil Warnock may do what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer failed to do, which is keep Cardiff in the Premier League. Is he now more deserving of the Manchester United job at some point down the line? Like, it's another great example of a person who had a very, very tough time at a football club and has clearly learned a lot from it. And there was a lot of judgment over Solskjaer because of what happened at Cardiff City, a lot of which wasn't down to him. There was a lot of failure behind the scenes that contributed to their downfall at the time. So he's clearly picked up lessons from that. He was brilliant, wasn't he, at the end of his stint with Molde as well. He brought form into it. He was helped, I think, by the fact that Molde actually lost their first game in ages after he left. So I'm not sure how big a factor that was in Manchester United actually picking him up at the time. But he's on a pretty purple patch at the moment when it comes to his managerial career in both clubs. And it's not going to end anytime soon. He's the front runner.
Ashley Young has signed a new one-year deal at Man United as well. He's putting down a good Man United career, Ashley Young, for somebody who, you know.
You say that as if he doesn't have. You said it as if he's overachieved.
Well, he got a lot of flack, right? There's like a little bit of butter or something on the Irish Times this morning. It's That's a nice thing to have in the papers. There you go. Slogging away with 60 days to go for 60 minutes of football. It's crazy, and I think it has to change, says veteran Corfin defender Fitzgerald. So this is the talk of the seasons for the clubs not being much fun, basically. And then the Sean O'Brien loss. Stuart Lancaster was out yesterday facing the media, talking about the loss of Sean O'Brien, basically saying that once O'Brien wasn't offered an international contract by the IRFU, the matter effectively is out of Leinster's hands at that point, because anybody can come in and make Sean O'Brien the type of offer that London Irish have made. It did start a conversation around the office about the greatest ever Leinster players in the professional era. So let's just limit this to the professional era. Obviously Brian O'Driscoll's right there. Sexton has to be right there. Leo Cullen, as a Leinster career, is going to end up being talked about as like an icon of Leinster rugby because of what he's done, both as a player and as a coach. Sean O'Brien is right there in any conversation in terms of like impact and the love of the fans. And then, I don't know, after that, who else have you got? You've got Issa, obviously. Issa Nasewa, the best foreign player that ever joined the club. He's the one case in world sport that I ever remember disproving that, oh, don't go back thing, because he went back and was just as good, and
There's plenty of other cases, obviously.
There aren't really. Ends up kicking the winner in the European Cup final. Most people go back and they're a failure. And does Rocky Elsom sneak in? He does, just for the fact that they might not have ever got over the line for the first time if it hadn't been for Rocky, who apparently didn't train and only played games and was always around the match. Just adding a little bit extra to his legend.
Yeah, like Sean O'Brien is probably going to go down as the best Leinster player that is going to be viewed as a cult hero almost. When he's so much better than a cult hero, he is a Leinster icon, really. Yeah. Although, I was just looking at it this morning, who do you think's got the most Leinster appearances of all time? You probably know this, do you?
The most ever?
Yeah. But according to their website.
Still playing?
Recently retired, in the last 5 years.
For Leinster club matches?
It's just Leinster. It's like 250 odd appearances. It's Gordon Darcy. And then, like, not too far below him is actually Jamie Heaslip, who I thought his injury profile would have actually stopped him from being in the top few appearances. He actually has the second most appearances. So Gordon Darcy has 257, Heaslip is 229, Devon Toner with 227, and then Cullen fourth.
Heaslip was never injured.
It's true, it was just at the end, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was just at the end when he was, which eventually derailed things. So, like, the question is, if you could have one back row in your Leinster icon list, are you picking Heaslip or are you picking Sean O'Brien?
It's a good tricky question, but yeah, well, you can give us your answers. Hashtag OTB AM. Am I bothered? Solskjaer doesn't fear Moneybags PSG. Yeah, he's the perfect Man United manager, right? Mike Quirk, the journey from Strand Road to Austin Park. That's his piece today. Again, brilliant analysis from Mike Quirk on Off the Ball last night about the Kerry Dublin game. And Niall Quinn, good piece here, denying that he's trying to do a hatchet job on the FAI at a Virgin Media launch yesterday. The Irish Independent, their lead this morning. British Racing to get back on track. Oh, there's difference there. Headline there. Marshall, it's payback time for Ole. United striker wants PSG scalp to reward Solskjaer's switch to more attacking style. So that was the press conference yesterday. Then obviously overnight or later yesterday evening, 4 meetings planned in risk-managed return with missed marquee races rescheduled for the weekend. So British Racing getting back on track after the equine flu outbreak. And it looks like referee Maurice Deegan's report isn't going to say anything about the Renaissance art that the two teams served up by way of a brawl in the aftermath.
It wasn't a brawl, really.
Whatever. Schmozzle.
Schmozzle, correct.
O'Brien is one of the greats, says Lancaster. He's dead right. 122 caps for Leinster. How many did you say Darcy had?
257.
Wow, twice as many. That's mad, isn't it?
That's what I mean. It's like it's hard to kind of quantify impact per game. But if you could, Sean O'Brien would be number one.
Sarri demands total overhaul. That's like, good luck with that. I mean, if he pulls it off from here, having had those back-to-back defeats that they've just come through, and he stays in the job and he managed to get rid of everybody, it is one of the great Houdini acts of all time since, actually, Harry Houdini.
It really is. Since the Houdini himself.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even need to do anything. All he needs to do is just not get sacked, and it would be a remarkable act of escapology. It's it's hilarious at this point. He's kind of like begging to be sacked. And maybe Roman Abramovich just doesn't know what's going on. Maybe he's just not watching Chelsea anymore. Maybe he kind of forgot that Chelsea Football Club exists, and it's just happening there undecided.
It's like your fiver down the back of a couch.
Exactly.
Oh, Chelsea, I forgot about you. No, nice one. His Lampard still go, what? Where's Lampard? That kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Nicky Henderson, one thing's for certain, we have to start racing again on Wednesday, and he's going to get his way. Ireland lifts suspension on runners from Britain. So, yeah, it looks like the equine flu outbreak story is coming to an end.
Back page of the Irish Daily Mail this morning is O'Brien exiled. Flanker's exit is disappointing for Lancaster, while Aaron Ramsey hits £83 million jackpot with Juve move. He's going to get 400 grand a week with the Italian Giants when he joins them. Back page of the Herald is we're going to go for PSG, says Ole. Martial also in the media. He says United swagger under Solskjaer can beat Paris, and McAteer has been on the record saying Premier League is holy grail for the Reds. Back page of The Sun is 400k a week. Aaron signs mega deal with Juve. Roman Abramovich has not forgotten about Chelsea because Sarri is to talk with Roman. He's been told he's free to discuss Chelsea's crisis with Abramovich whenever he wants. So
Sarri is. Yeah.
Just picked up a call and it's like, whenever you want to talk about anything, Maurizio, I'm right here for you.
Oh, well, I mean,
so what? You're in sixth?
So Gabriele Mercati tweeted that it's not 400 grand a week. It's actually 7.5 million net, which works out at 250 grand a week. 250 grand a week sounds a hell of a lot more plausible, if still rather high. So perhaps with bonuses, if they like win the Champions League, that would nearly double it. So that'd be a lot of money, wouldn't it?
A huge amount of money, but they're so desperate to get that. So I'm sure they'd be willing to shell out 500k a week on Aaron Ramsey if it meant they got to the Champions League.
But hang on, sorry. Hang on a second. 7.5 million net, right? Let me just do these quick maths. Cancel. Okay, 7, 5, 1, 2, 3. Well, that's a lot of zeros, isn't it? That's a lot of zeros. Divided by 60, multiplied by 100 equals 12.5 million. Divided by 52 equals. It is only 250. That can't be right, is it?
You've really been put back in your place there, haven't you?
Yeah.
Is your calculator lying to you, do you think?
No, so at a 40% tax rate, 7.5 million net works out at around 250 grand a week gross.
It's bloody Italian taxmen taking all of poor Aaron Ramsey's money. Back page of the Irish Daily Star this morning is beware of the Pog. Martial says stage is set for Paul Pogba. We've also got Ian Rush there talking about Manchester City and Liverpool. He says City's fixture list may hurt them, and green light for racing there as well on the back page of the Star. It's Manchester United as well on the back of the Mirror. Good Ole days. Solskjaer believes United can go all the way in Champions League, like when he got the winner. And Sarri's facing more pressure over snub for Hudson-Odoi, I should say, on the back page of the Mirror as well. And you've also got another Arsenal exclusive here by John Cross, saying that Mesut Ozil's relationship with Arsenal has reached breaking point after his latest cry-off. And then a couple of other back pages for you. The Guardian goes with Jadon Sancho here. It hasn't been easy. I've had to work for this. As he returns to London to face Spurs tomorrow, Jadon Sancho describes his journey from playground to Prince of the Bundesliga. And finally then, the front page of the Daily Telegraph sports section is Captain Root hits century at a third test there. And Sarri given just 2 weeks to save his job. Chelsea's beleaguered coach faces desperate fight to avoid Abramovich axe.
2 weeks is much longer than we thought he was going to be given, right? Fair play. He's done well, the lad. Keeping his job for those 2 weeks.
What's he going to do for those 2 weeks when he knows, like, it's kind of like death row. Do Chelsea managers get given a death row meal?
Yeah, like you know, caviar and finest champagne, whatever you want, because it's like, well, in fairness, they are trying to screw Antonio Conte out of his money, right?
But see, that's still going on at the moment. I wonder, can they just not focus on two things at once? And like, if they manage to get into another dispute with another manager, that would really be a juggling act.
They've united Malmo in the Cup and City. It's like not a great League Cup final.
No.
What if they get beaten 6-0 in the League Cup final? Ooh. And then Spurs after that. Yeah, what? You can't, no point sacking them now, right? Because whoever comes in is going to be like, jeez, we've got Spurs, you know? Give it to... What would, like... Does the success of Solskjaer mean that you can bring Lampard in now?
No.
Why not?
I think this is the success of Solskjaer. Do they have to thank the Manchester United hierarchy a little bit there, in terms of the fact that they seem far more receptive to criticism than anybody in the Chelsea hierarchy is? Like Roman Abramovich, like granted, you look at the Glazer family and their ownership of Manchester United has been fairly staunch as well, and it's been fairly bulletproof to criticism. But is Roman Abramovich just on a different level altogether, where the manager is literally just a pawn? Like, how much of an influence do outside influences, I'm not talking about Abramovich here, but outside influences that aren't the manager have on that dressing room?
I just suspect that if you were to put somebody like Lampard in who has the faith of Abramovich from before, does that change things?
Maybe it does, but if you look at it from Frank Lampard's perspective, when you're a plaster at Chelsea, you really are just a plaster. You will be gone at the end of the season. We've seen that happen a couple of times before. Maybe Lampard's reputation protects him.
Yeah, not a club hero, not a club legend.
Yeah, that's true. Like with Solskjaer, there's definitely the sense that the way Manchester United are set up, and
that's screwed. And he was a club legend, but then I don't know how the hell that happened that he won the league in the first place. So
yeah,
second time.
Like the good news from Maurizio Sarri is that he's lasted longer than Luis Felipe Scolari, so he's not the worst Chelsea manager in the Abramovich era, if you judge him by kind of length of time that it's taken for them to get sacked.
And of course, our friend Andre Villas-Boas.
He's not quite I think Andre Villas-Boas lasted a little bit longer. I think did he get to the end of February? I'm open to correction on that. But Scolari and Villas-Boas are the two shortest serving Chelsea managers from the start of the season.
We should get Andre back on to explain to us what that whole process was like.
We should do. If he manages to hold on, if he manages to bump up to third shortest serving Abramovich manager, then we'll get him on.
Okay, we are going to preview tonight's Champions League tie with Manchester United and Paris Saint-Germain in just a moment.